Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. We discuss 6 questions in 9 minutes because leaders know how to be concise. We'll go ahead and get started with today's guest. First question, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi, my name is Johnathan Lightfoot. I am the owner of TechForce LLC. We provide IT, cloud, architecture, training, and support services to small to medium-sized businesses in the areas specifically to Azure and Office or Microsoft 365.
That's a much needed service, especially in today's situation. So that's great to have you on board there with that. Well, question number 2, what's the best thing about working with a team?
For me, there's a lot of different aspects, but if I have to look at the most important, to me at least, it would be the ability to collaborate as well as share with other people. I find myself actually learning from my team oftentimes more than I feel my leadership is at times.
Well, that's great. Well, question number 2, I hear from other team leaders that it can be a challenge to get team members engaged. Tell us your thoughts on that.
It can be. I've worked with numerous teams over my entire career. I would say that it all starts and ends with having a clear objective in sight and making sure that the entire team understands what you're trying to do, what the end goal is, and also making sure that everybody is on board with that vision, taking notes from them. Sometimes you have to change the objective a little bit to suit certain scenarios. Remember, when you're working with a team, you're working with experts a lot of times. So it's always valuable to respect that and make sure that everybody understands the objectives and buys into it.
Well, those are very insightful comments that you're making about that vision alignment, as I often refer to it as. So great comments. Thank you.
Yes.
Question number 4. What other piece of advice would you like to give to leaders of teams?
Throughout my career, I would say that the biggest thing is communication. Communications is key when you're working in a team. This includes laying out what the plan is, gathering feedback, as well as checking with each team member about the plan. Again, gathering more feedback from them. You want to keep everybody updated as to the progress of the overall team. No, no silos. No, this is a special group, so we're just going to treat them differently. If it's a team effort, everybody has to know what's going on and when it's happening, especially when it comes to statuses. And again, gathering feedback and also the acknowledgement of achievements. I don't care how big or small they are. Everybody in that team is participating and they're adding value, if you will, getting us over the line, as well as, again, gather feedback. You'll notice that I keep saying gathering feedback. Leading a team isn't just, the leader is the authoritarian and, that what I say goes. It's getting that team together, getting their feedback, adjusting the plan when necessary. But definitely the only way you can do that is through communication, open, transparent communication with the team.
But you can never overemphasize the importance of communication. And as you put it, gathering that feedback. That is so critical.
Yes.
Question number 5, what other successful team leaders, such as yourself, would you like to recognize that have had a positive influence in your life?
Wow. Lots of them. So I would say one of my best department heads I ever had, Kerry Walker. He was awesome when I worked in corporate before I started off on my own. There's people like Fred Brandon, who is doing some extraordinary things, not just here in America, but working with teams internationally, if you will, and getting that done. Fabian Williams is another one I would recommend. He comes with a huge U.S. Marine Corps background. I smile because I'm Navy, so we're supposed to not like each other. I totally respect him and his leadership skills. A young lady that I've worked with before, Labrina Loving, she's awesome. She knows really how to get a team dialed in and really work towards goals. A guy named Shadid Alizer, he is actually doing some work in the Maryland area with youth, and he works a lot with volunteers. So if you've ever worked with volunteers in a team environment, the dynamic is totally different. It's not like a paid team, but he manages to get some really extraordinary things together for youth. And finally, I would say Ashley Agler. She is someone who I was privileged to meet a year ago when she first came down to South Florida where I live. And in the span of a few months, really, she's put together a really awesome Microsoft user group down here in South Florida that basically was non-existent before she got involved, rolled up her sleeves, and she has a great group of people who volunteer their time willingly to put on, a great user group that people can go to. So those are off the top of my head people I can think of. But I've been fortunate. I've worked with some awesome teams and awesome leaders. I've worked with some not so awesome ones too. You might want to do a podcast on, what fails and bring in those people who can look back and say, yeah, that wasn't a good idea. But those are some people I would recommend.
Well, thank you for recognizing those great people. Obviously, as you said, you have been very fortunate to be around some great people. So thank you for recognizing them. Well, sixth and final question. Tell us a little bit about your first job.
Wow. Okay. So I didn't have a first job. I had first jobs. So I actually, at the age of 15, actually 14, I started mowing yards. Typical American American life, right? Of a young American teen. By 15, though, I had really turned that into a business, if you will. And it just so happens that a friend of mine, this is perhaps my fun, it was a fun job, especially when you hear it, you'll be like, how was that fun? But I was a dishwasher at a truck stop.
Wow.
And so I would, mow yards on the weekends and after school, or, if there's a holiday, I would work at the truck stop. And that was really interesting to me to sit and talk to these, grizzled, you're talking about in the 80s, right? Grizzled, tough truck drivers, and listening to them. And actually, there's some life lessons I've learned there from talking with them that I still carry to this day. And I'm just like, wow, but yeah, I had two jobs. I was mowing yards, as well as working in a truck stop as a dishwasher.
What a unique blend, and being
Yeah.
able to talk to some really, shall we say, experienced individuals.
Very
So
experienced and hard individuals.
I bet.
But they all liked apple pie, so
There you go.
great. It was a great equalizer.
You're always safe with apple pie, aren't you? That's
Always,
great.
always.
Well, Johnathan, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. How can people find you?
Several ways. So I have a website, techforceintl.com. I'm on Twitter. You can reach me again at the business Twitter is TechForce LLC on Twitter. Always available via email. So Johnathan@techforceintl.com. Email is perhaps one of the best ways because I am, living in the 21st century, and email is my, my chain that keeps me communicating.
Very good. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, you can find us on LinkedIn by searching Blue Sky Business Consulting. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a great day.